Hey guys, my name is Raymond Hudson, and I am the executive pastor at New Life Church in the East Bay of San Francisco. Such a privilege to serve and to work there. We're a multi-site church, and I get to be the executive pastor there and oversee our church multiplication. With that being said, I am passionate and just really desiring to see God do great things in our nation. And I think that one of the greatest ways that he does that is when a person gets an excitement to plant a church or a church gets the excitement to multiply. And that's what we're talking about today, multiplication. I get the privilege of being on the CMN field team, and so it's such a privilege to do that. But today I want to talk to you about launching a campus. I think as pastors, it sometimes can be difficult to figure out what does it look like to launch a campus. How do we do it? What are all the ins and outs? And so as we go through this series, I hope that you can find tools and resources that will be a help to you. And I believe that one of the most important things when multiplying a campus is vision. Vision is a thing that drives many things. And so I'd encourage you, go out and pray. Ask God, I want to be a church that multiplies. I want to be a church that transforms the area that I'm in. But I think one of the greatest ways that that happens is when we have a heart and a vision for what that comes directly from God. And so I encourage you, go out and pray. Stop the video, go into your living room, pray, maybe take a few days and just say, God, what is your vision for our church? But I think as you get past vision, it moves to the question of what does it look like to plant? Are there steps to it? Are there resources to make that happen? And so I think one of the first steps to launching the next campus is to determine where. Where am I going to do it? And I think that comes also from the vision, but where am I going to launch this next campus? And then there are many reasons why you would launch in a specific location. And I want to give you just a few today. I'm sure there's many things that you've seen out there or you've talked about, but I want to talk about just 3 ways that you can think about launching a campus. And so the first way, and it's actually one of my favorites. Now I'm a little bit biased, and so I'm not saying this is the best way, but I kind of think it's one of the best ways. And so I think it's demographically driven. And so what I mean by that is you sometimes are praying, God, where do you want me to go? God, how do you want me to launch? And God's actually already given you a church, and there's already locations where pockets of people are. And so this is what I think about when I think about demographically driven. It's when you look at your current church demographics and you find where you have large pockets of attendees and visitors. Why is that important? Because God has already orchestrated great leaders in certain areas within your community where you can set up great facilities for launching your next locations. And I think sometimes we can over-spiritualize where God wants us to go because he's already showed us and he's already placed people there. And I think there's many benefits that you'll find when launching in the communities that you already have people in. And we'll get more into that in the next videos. But another very important way of doing it is partnership driven. And so that's kind of this thought of God's providence. I think we all believe it. We all think about it. God is a big God. And in the midst of being strategic and planning out new locations, always leave room for what God wants to do. God is sovereign. He actually can dream bigger and better than any of us. And so that's why it's so important for us to pray. And sometimes where God comes in and where God has placed his finger is where God is ready to bless. And with that blessing could be a building. The start of our church, New Life Church, 20 years ago, we were given a building, and that's where we put one of our campuses. And so we serve a big God that can do great things. And so I'd encourage you, be open to God's providence in those partnerships, but then other partnerships are people. There's times where God is saying, there's a person in your life or in your church or in your city or wanting to go to your city who needs a church to oversee them. And so I think partnership is also parent-affiliated churches. And so maybe God is calling you to do that. And I think that is God's providence when that happens. And then the last one is strategically driven. Now, we talked about vision earlier, but I think as you look all around the nation, there's tons of churches where pastors have been given a vision, and maybe it's, 10 campuses in 10 years or 5 campuses in 5 years. But God places locations in your heart and campuses, and then you strategically start to look at, is there a fast-growing city near you that you're saying, I feel God sending me there? Or is there a type of people or community that God's pushing you to? But in strategy, I just encourage you, it's planning and assessing just the different areas and communities that you have. And so I want to encourage you as we're getting ready to go into the next few videos that you think about, man, what in these three versions of planting, which one is your favorite? Now, I said it earlier, I love the one where it's demographically driven only because I feel like God's already placed, at least for our church, us in certain communities, and we're just now culling through information to figure out where our next location can be. It was great walking you guys through these three ways for you to multiply your campuses. Again, I want to encourage you, before you move to the next video, pray and begin to ask God, what is he saying to you? And as you're doing that, get prepared for us to dive into three specific ways that you can multiply your campuses in the future.